That Stephen Olatunji is a personal development speaker whose entire body of work is built around one conviction that every person carries something significant and that the difference between the life they are living and the life they were created for is clarity about who they are, discipline in how they build, and intentional direction in how they grow. Over 8 years of speaking across Nigeria and the United Kingdom have taken him from local churches and university lecture theatres to corporate events, faith conferences, youth gatherings, and career forums, serving audiences across some of the most diverse rooms a speaker can stand in. Mr. Stevens speaks on three things: building this discipline that turns potential into practice, moving through fear with conviction rather than waiting for it to leave, and becoming the purposeful, directed person that every area of your life is waiting for you to be. His vision is straightforward: a generation of individuals who stop drifting and start building, not because they were temporarily motivated, but because they are genuinely equipped with the clarity, tools, and direction to do so. He holds an MSc in International Business and Data Analytics Management for Wrexham University and is the founder of Crown Consult, a management and data consulting firm. He is also the voice behind Steven Speaks, a personal development platform reaching people across multiple countries through content, keynote speaking, and community engagement. It does not come to fill time, it comes to shift something. So, with every excitement, let's make welcome our second speaker, Mr. Stephen Olatunji.
Good evening. All right. So
Good
can
evening.
we put in the chat box where you're listening from? Real quick, I just want to know. Just tell me where you're listening from. Okay, I can see Show, your state. Yeah, it's beautiful. Show. Seems like we have quite a number of people from Show. Yeah, Niger State, Nigeria. All right, give me a second. All right, thank you so much to the convener. Titles. It's a privilege and it's an honor to speak to people. It's a great privilege speaking to everyone this evening. And yeah, so let's get into it. So this evening, I've been saddled with a little responsibility to speak to us about clarity before influence. And I've got a little slide to share with us. Can I share my slide real quick? So let me just start before it comes up. But I really would have loved to show us something. Yeah, so clarity before influence. One of the major things I believe everybody everybody is meant to do is to understand exactly why they are here and to then double down on it. But the process of we trying to understand why we are here on this earth, we tend to lose focus on what we are supposed to do as individual. We tend to focus on the last part, influence, influence your celebrity status and so on. And because we've got no attachment to our purpose and what we need to do as individual, when we get to that point whereby everybody now knows you, you no longer have a meaning that you can attach to yourself as to why you're doing what you're doing, meaning you lost interest in what actually gave you that influence in the first place. So I've actually got two illustrations that I wanted to show us. Two illustrations for us. Number one, I've got a camera, and number two, I've got a lighthouse. And let's work with our imaginations right now. So I believe we should be able to work with our imagination. Can you, for a minute, imagine a camera I know some of you don't know how to use a digital camera, but imagine you handling a digital camera and you need to take a picture of whatsoever is in your front. Just imagine what is in your front. You need to take a picture. How many things can you focus on at the same time if you need to take a picture? If you can unmute yourself, you can just respond. If you can use the chat bot, I would really appreciate you to give me a response. If you need to take a picture of anything, how many things can you focus on at the same time? Okay. All right. So this is what I was going to illustration one, the camera.
Yes, sir, we can see it,
Clarity
sir.
is not in you able to see everything. It is seeing one thing perfectly at a go. So a camera does not try to capture the whole world at once. It focuses on one subject and everything else blows away. I know some of you will argue you need to set your F ratio between 1.8 to whatever number. What I'm trying to teach or what I'm trying to explain to you is that when you need to capture anything with a camera, you need to focus on the subject of what you want to capture. By doing so, you get a very clearer image of what you are trying to capture. Yes or no? Are we together? So
Yes,
the
sir, we can
second,
hear you, sir.
thank you. The second thing is the lighthouse. The lighthouse does not move, the ship finds it. I'm trying to give you a I'm trying to give you two contrasting illustration here. One, you need to take a picture, you need to set a focus on it to get a very good image of what you're trying to capture. And two, a lighthouse. It's stationary, but what is actually built to do is that the ship actually comes to find it, meaning that it doesn't move, the ships find it. And it's not about what the ship does before finding it or how they find it. It is the reason why the lighthouse is there for its sake. It says it's been so rooted that people who are lost in the fog find their way to the light. And when they find their way to the light, they know they are either close to the shore or they are already at the shore. And that is how it works. So in understanding the clarity and getting to understand your purpose, because I don't think I can talk about clarity without talking about purpose in itself. Because understanding your purpose gives you clarity, then it leads you into influence. I'm going to show us the sequence and about a I'm going to show us the sequence that I've actually designed for this meeting itself. So the third thing is release a case study, but I don't want to do that. I just want to go straight to who are you? It's an opening question. Who are you? I'm not asking you about your name, your title, not your result. I want you to type in the comment section or in the chat box. Who are you? I want to read from our chat. Who are you? I need a response from us. Who are you? So I don't mean you talking to me about what you do. I don't need you to tell me about where you work. I don't need you to tell me about your grades, your academic achievement. Who are you? Someone said, I'm full of potential. All right, beautiful. Anybody else? I mean, we've got how many people on this chat right now? We've got about 12 of us here, and I should get minimum about 10 responses in the chat. Who are you? All right, I'm God's image. All right, beautiful, beautiful. I'm God's image. All right, I need to get about 3 more responses and then I can move. I change the word need. Beautiful. Okay. Who are you? I'm an ambassador of Christ Jesus. Okay. Who are you? I think you are taking me somewhere. You're taking me high. Who are you? So just because of our time, I'm just gonna continue. Um all right. I've asked you a question, who are you? And the next thing is I want you to understand that you are not here by accident. Nobody is here by accident. And here is why I've said you are not here by accident. So before you were formed in the womb, God knew you. Before you were born, He set you apart. And that is Jeremiah 1:5. So before you were formed, God knew you and then He set you apart. And You cannot understand the product by asking the product. You need to go back to the manufacturer. You need to read the user manual. You need to understand the original intention. And I want you to understand that your grades, your failure, other people's opinion, they can or do not tell you about who you are. The only person who tells you about who you are is his word. And I want you to understand this using this method. I say many times we tend to really run around looking for who we are, trying to understand our purpose by running up and down. And I believe we missed it from the scratch about running up and down just to understand your purpose because you are not meant to run about to understand your purpose. You are meant to look inward. I mean, he has given you everything he has given unto you, not because he doesn't know what to do with it, but he has given unto you every of these things to be able to express them to the world. And in understanding that, in discovering and in knowing what your purpose, I mean, the discovering is even a wrong word because when you use the word discover, it means it's eating, and in initial state is not eating. When you get to know what you are meant to do, it helps you to actually know what you need and the people you have been sent to. Before you had the name, you already had a purpose. So before you had the name, you already had a purpose for you. And I want you to understand that also. So knowing versus living. I mean, there's a difference between you knowing what you are meant to do as a person versus living this particular thing that you get to know for yourself. And I use the parable of the talent. Now, it didn't steal it, it didn't destroy it. Sorry, and it didn't mock it. All he did was just to bury it out of fear. The talent was real, the call was real. The only action that was missing was that he buried it. He buried it because he know nothing of what he needed to do with it. And every one of us that had something inside of us, we've had something we need to do. You've been finding yourself repeating something, you've been finding yourself having to go through a particular kind of process at this moment. And you're asking yourself questions about why you're doing what you're doing. You notice some things is coming to you effortlessly. You notice you can do some things without anybody having to compensate you for what you're doing. And at the same time, you're trying to push these things away, you're trying to bury it. And I'm making you understand that purpose itself is not discover being idle. It's not, you don't get to know it by sitting down or by waiting for it to happen. The other two guys that got 2 talent and 5 talent, what we got to understand from the good book was that they traded it, they acted on it, and that is how they were able to multiply it. Whatsoever you don't act on, you don't trade on, you don't work on, you can never multiply it. The only thing you can get from not doing anything with everything you have been given is that you are going to just go bury it. You're going to go just go bury it. So the earlier you know who you are, the clearer your direction. And I want you to understand what we need to go to now. The architecture of what this clarity itself means. What is clarity? How do you get to build it? I mean, what is required? Now, we need to start with the why. The stronger your why, the easier your how. It's simple, and I don't want to make it so logical for us. The stronger your why, the easier your how. Your how is what gives you direction towards where you need to go to. Your how it was gives you the purpose towards why you are heading towards that direction. We too can be going to the same place. We can be heading to, let's say, for example, I need to go to Abuja. I know why about what I want to go do in Abuja. And I got to meet somebody who said he's traveling to, what was the opposite way to Abuja? God, I don't know. But let's say the person is going to Zamfara. Do I jump in the person's car heading to Zamfara while I know I'm heading to Abuja? Obviously not. But I only jump in his car or her car when I know that this same person is going in the same direction as me. And your how is you to understand that the directions you have been given or the instructions you have been given, particularly, is what keeps you moving, even in times of problems, in terms of obstructions, even when the course is unclear. Your why is what keeps you moving. So real quick, I'm going to tell you something. A weak why and a strong why. A weak why stops at the first rejection. It needs constant validation. Quit when things get hard. Compares constantly. But the strong why persists through rejection, moves without applause, find purpose in the process, and is run its own race. That's why I said the moment you understand your why, your how becomes so easy for you. So the vision and the mission. I mean, a lot of us have actually come to understand the vision and this mission thing. Yeah, a lot of people say mission statement, vision statement. In as much as a lot of things have been said about this too, when it comes to mission or vision statement, I still need us to understand that everybody's life needs a vision because vision gives you direction. Mission fuels that particular direction you need to move to. If you don't have one, we'll get to how you need to create one for yourself and before you get into that influence place. So what you need to do is to write it down. Write the vision and make it plain that he who sees it may run with it. I mean, it's so important that what you don't write, what you don't put into writings, what you don't write, you cannot meditate on. Because there is a Chinese saying that says that the dullest pen is sharper than the sharpest brain. What you write down, you can easily go back to. But what you don't write down, you have no knowledge about it, you can't recall it. And if your memory serves you well, maybe a little bit, you can remember some of these things and then you can move from there. Number one thing it does is it moves vision from feeling into intention. It turns dreams into action. It commits your mind towards that particular actions that you need to do for yourself. So understand your domain. In getting clarity, in understanding what you need to do as individual when it comes to purpose, it also brings you into understanding your domain because you have not been called to function everywhere. You have not been called to do everything. It is sad truth, but it's a very big reality. Some business people, when you ask them to say, "Oh, what are you doing?" Sort of they say, "Oh, I'm serving everybody. My target audience is everybody." Oh, you cannot serve everybody because you have not been called to all demographics. You have not been called to serve everybody. You have been served to some particular set of people. And the earlier you come to understand is the easier your journey becomes for you. Also, you need to understand the process flow. It is be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. I'm able to bring these things together to understand that the first instructions everybody has getting as individual is after everything, you have dominion. It's not because you cannot multiply or you cannot be fruitful before you have dominion. It is understanding the process of clarity before influence. Let's take, for example, let me take you to another process of imagination. A seed, a seed abides alone, and then when you plant that particular seed, the seed grows into a tree, isn't it? Produces flowers, and after it produces flowers, it then bear fruit, and then the fruit, when they fall down to the earth again, the fruit produces another what tree, and then that is how cross pollination comes in. It takes it into another field. The same seed from that particular place germinate in another field because of cross pollination, meaning a bee comes to take the seed and then it falls into another land, and then it starts growing there again. What do you think happened? Do you think if the tree never produced any seed, do you think it can multiply? Can we put a response in the chat box? Do you think if the tree never produced a seed, do you think it can multiply? I can't see the chat really. I just hope I'm actually. All right. No, sir. Good. So we understand that for it to be able to multiply, there had to be an atom that comes from that particular tree. And then in the multiplication is where he's able to have dominion to cover a lot of things. You see, the scripture talks about First Chronicle 12:32, talking about the sons of Issachar that they understood times and they knew what to do. It's not because they were one people who were very special. I did a research to understand that these particular people genealogically studied the process of times. They studied this process of times, and that is how they were able to understand what to do. I could have given us a lot of case studies from the good book, but I really don't just want it to turn it into a sermon. So that's why I just wanted to just pick up the important word and then we flow from there. In your domain, there is a flow, and outside your domain calls labor, but in your domain, there is something called grace that is able to work for you. So understanding your domain removes every of this pressure and everything else and puts you into a place where you can function excellently to do exactly what you have been called to do as individual. I'm trying to let you understand that you have not been called, you have not been given a purpose, you have not been given an assignment to do everything, to function in every space, to do everything. You have been told to do what exactly you have been told to do. I mean, some of you are asking a question, then how do I understand? How do I know what I'm supposed to do? I will get there. Just give me a few minutes. I really need to just take us through a process. Now, the real definition of clarity. Before you get to what influence is before you start try to start putting yourself out, or before you start expressing influence about on things, people, sort of, we need to come to understand this clarity, the definition. Like I said before, it's not your grade, it's not your job title, it's not what the world calls you, it's not what your parent thinks about you, it's not what religious leader labels you as, it's not what your colleagues at work calls you. It's not what your friends calls you. That is everything it must not be measured by. So what exactly do you need to measure it by? It is recognizing yourself according to the standard of God for your life. His standard alone. His standard alone. And until we come to understand that God's standard is actually the best in us actually expressing ourselves and expressing Him, we will keep living in the shadow of everybody that we listen to without coming to actually express ourselves. God, you don't need to be a junior or be a carbon copy of somebody else because you have got a life that you're supposed to express as individual. And like I showed you, like the lighthouse, when it is foggy, people come to that lighthouse and it gives them hope that they were already close to the shore, or that is them seeing the lighthouse from far. Or when they get close to that lighthouse, they know they're already at the shore of the ocean. So in you getting to understand and recognize your purpose for your life, you give clarity to other people. And that is why you need to build according to the standard of God for your life only. So clarity removes comparison, envy, hostility, competition, running the wrong race. Clarity gives you purpose, it gives you influence, and then it brings to you fruitfulness. Then how is clarity built? Precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. Clarity is accumulated. It is built through movement, through trying, through staying in the room, even when you feel unqualified. I think I will do it here a little bit so that I can explain what exactly I'm trying to say to us all. We need to understand that the life we have been called to live as individual, the life we've been called to live, it's not a shadow of somebody else's life. Jeremiah 1:5 says, before you were formed, I showed us. He said, I already knew you. You had a name since the beginning. You were not here by accident. You were not a mistake. No, you were none of that. So
Yes, so
what you need to say again, sorry.
I was just responding, sir. I can
Oh, so
continue.
you were not here by mistake whatsoever. You are here because God was intentional about your life. So precept upon precept, line upon line. What exactly is precept upon precept? What exactly is line upon line? See, what the scripture says that whatsoever you find, whatsoever your hand findeth to do it well. It knows what it's saying because the whole structure of understanding your purpose itself is not by going to a mountain to pray for 7 days or asking one man of God to tell you that, oh, this is what God has called you to do. Or, I mean, listening to a lot of things just because before you can get it. That is not how it works. I mean, I was once in that show just trying to understand what exactly I need to do. And then I sat down, just thinking, just waiting for that clarity. We are waiting for you to look so good, for you to look so glamorous before we move. I mean, we wasted a lot of time just trying to get it all right. But because we've made that kind of mistakes, we learned to then teach people and then let them understand that you don't repeat the same process just trying to understand what exactly you have been called to do or you have been given to do. So, in movement, in trying to do exactly what you are doing at this moment so well, it is in that particular movement that you get to understand your purpose that you have been called to do. And when it gets so clear to you, that is how you then double down on it. Nobody, and I mean it, nobody, except that it is written about you before you were given birth to, understand exactly what they are supposed to do on this earth fully. Because if you do understand what you're supposed to do on this earth fully, there will be no need for God, there will be no need for faith, there will be no need for belief, there will be no need for trust. In fact, we will start calling you God because you will start expressing God yourself. And that is why it is precept upon precept, line upon line, because it is a movement. It is in you doing what you were supposed to do in process, in due diligence, that you understand those particular instructions. Those things you've heard about 2, 3 years ago start making sense to you because you go through that, but you're like, oh, I think I've heard this thing before. Oh, I think I understand it now. Oh, I didn't understand what this person said to me 5 years ago. It now makes sense to me because it is a movement you want. See, Father Abraham got the one word: leave your father house to a land I'll show you. God never showed him anything. He kept moving for years, moving for years. Did you think if he knows where he was going to, did you think he would go through the trouble of believing God when he said that he needed to count the stars for him to get, or for him to know that his offspring will be so much as the stars covers the earth? Did you think he would so much believe God when he had no children? It is because the process that God is actually taking everyone through, it's so different, and that is why it is so risky. I mean, it is so risky to copy somebody else. It is so risky to take somebody else's manual and then put yourself into it and start living it out. You can copy somebody, but what you need to do is to copy and pivot, not copy and paste. That is most mistake many people do. And even in purpose, you are not meant to copy because everybody has a distinct instructions that God has actually given them to do. So in building clarity, resilience is everything. It's not optional, it is essential. But I mean it's not optional. It's not something you can negotiate your way around. It's not something you want to do today, tomorrow you're not interested in doing. No, you need to find that resilient spirit in you and you need to just follow through the whole process because it's never promised to be easy. It's never promised to be easy. And it's never promised to just come to you at a platter of gold. It's never promised in that way. So the options of men are useless. I mean, sorry, the opinions of men are useless in the fulfillment of your destiny. And I need you to let that word sink in so much into you. Your assignment did not originate with people. and it will not be completed by people's permission. It will not. You need to stay in the process. The opinions of men. I mean, somebody can just call you and say, "Oh, don't you think you should be in this particular field because of something?" I mean, some people even go to do or move into a particular field because it's a trending field or because there are a lot of money that's coming from that particular field. So you go into it. That is not how you do it, really. So the opinions of men are actually useless in fulfillment of your destiny. It might sound cruel to you, but I don't think I'm so happy or I'm interested in sugarcoating anything to you at this point. So influence is the overflow. I'll bring this to an end here. Influence is the overflow. It is understanding that particular purpose for yourself. You begat clarity, and in understanding those clarity, those things that you've been called to do for yourself, that is how you actually experience or you exude influence. So the truth about influence is not a large platform. It's not a viral moment. It's not a title. It's not a brand deal. Some of you might be shocked, like, oh, I thought when I have 200,000 followers on Instagram, I'm influential. When I have $10 million or 10 million naira in my account, I'm influential. Then your idea of influence is already being mixed up. If that is how you're thinking, you need to think kingdom influence. You need to think kingdom influence. When your clarity becomes clarity for somebody else is when you already understand what you're supposed to do as your assignment. It is when your clarity becomes clarity for somebody else. I mean, when I was writing this thing, I was thinking in my head, when your clarity, you know that some people so found themselves that people, by listening to them, knew what they should do for themselves also. I mean, example, Miles Moreau, my Modo. You listen to this leadership guy and you're like, I think I knew what I'm supposed to do. Why? Because they found themselves follow through those spaces, double down on what they were called to do, and in doing so, gave other people clarity, shine light, like the lighthouse, shine light on the darkness that surrounds people, then lead them in the path of clarity. That is the influence that you're supposed to exude, not the influence of the numbers of followers you have on Instagram, not the influence by the number of followers you have on TikTok. Now, don't get me wrong, those numbers are important in how much or how well you can reach a lot of people. However, if your determination or if your submission of clarity of influence is just the numbers you got on your social media handles, then you missed it. Because what happens to you when your social media get blocked or they get hacked? Then would you say you're no longer influential? Would you say your purpose is gone because your social media handles are gone?
Mm.
So this is food for thought for us. And I want you to understand something else, that influence does not start with a microphone. It starts with a quiet answer to those quiet thoughts inside of you. That is where it starts from. I mean, I missed some slide in the beginning. I wanted to give us a case study of Joseph in itself. When he had the dream and everything he was supposed to do for himself, at the age of 17, was thrown into the pit, then from pit to prison, then to the palace. People say 3 Ps and sort of like that. But you need to understand that even in the whole process of what this guy went through, he held on to those words he had on himself. Because the first time that this guy might have actually interpreted the dream from those two guys in the prison, he might have felt like, yeah, this thing works. I think I'm supposed to do this more often. Spoken to other, I mean, the scripture never recorded it. I'm just giving you an instance saying that sharpened his gift more and then spoke to interpreted more dreams for people and all like that. And from there, he got called into the palace. Let me give you a very good example. Example is Daniel himself. Do you know, I was speaking to my brother about a week or two, period, and I was telling him that Daniel chapter 1, I've forgotten the verse. It says that Daniel himself was interviewed by the king. I mean, because some of us just pray wisdom prayer, excellence prayer, like of the Daniel. You don't understand that. Before Daniel, number one, they never even prayed for excellent spirit in the first place. It was because this guy was so good with science, was so good with governance, was so good with the things they were doing, that what they knew how to do set them apart. That the person that was obligated to then interview them for the post of what they were supposed to do in Babylon was the king himself. That is how good you can be in the things you were called to do, your domain now. So find the expression that the scripture says that let your light so shine that kings comes to the brightness of your light. King will not come to any brightness of any light that you have in you if you keep shining your light where other lights are in the church. If you keep shining your light where there is already brightness, without you finding expression by going into where you have been called to, your domain, by speaking to the people or doing the things or rendering a service to the people that you have been called to do it for. So it is not by the microphone. It is not when you have been given that platform to stand on and to speak on. No, that is not where influence starts from. Because that is not the definition of kingdom influence. Influence starts from you understanding the purpose, a better clarity in you. Your clarity gives other people clarity for their lives. And in doing that, you start expressing, you start living the life of purpose, and then you start finding you start expressing influences on other people. Because there is a way you can so live this life that the things you say carry so much weight that people will really want to just listen to you every day of their life. That is how much you have been called to do. And who has God called me to be? Find the answer, live in the direction of it, protect it with resilience, and influence will follow. It always does. It always does. So I don't want you to put influence first and then start finding answer to what has he called you to do or what has he called you to become. No, that is not how it works. I want you to just sit down with yourself today. If you've never gotten anything from everything I've said, I want you to just listen to me as a round as I put this to a close, that your life is beautiful. Your life is different. And your life is called of God to do something particularly spectacular. You are not meant to copy anyone. You are not meant to live somebody else's life. You are not meant to be a carbon copy of anybody else. That is how much God has put so much value inside of you. That is how much God has actually put so much inside of you. You need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself the question, what have I been called to do? What exactly it is that I like to do? What exactly it is that I found joy doing? What exactly it is that when I do, I don't wait for an applause. I don't wait for somebody to give me a compliment about the things that I'm doing. I just love it. I'm just doing it. When I'm doing it, I find joy in doing it. What is it that when you are doing, you put joy in the face of other people as you are doing the things you are also doing? You need to sit down. These questions, you don't ask ChatGPT, you don't ask Claude. No, these are the questions you sit down, you ask yourself. You take a
Yes,
pen and a book and you
Farmer.
write it down. Are you getting me now? You write every of
Yes,
these things
Farmer.
down because it is when you write them down you can go back to it. No, don't forget Habakkuk 2:2. Let he that write look at what he has written and then you can run with it. You can run with it. That is the life you have been so called to live. You need to find the answer. Don't let the world tell you who you are not. Don't listen to what the world is saying. Everybody says that, oh, I don't listen to you if you don't drive this car range, if you don't have this particular amount of money in your account. No, that is not who you have been called to be. That is not your identity. That is not your purpose. I need you to find yourself in the corner of your room. Sit down, listen to that quiet inner voice. You've heard it from the first speaker. Listen to it. Sit down and write it down. And write it down because in you writing it down, when you look into it, that is where vision and mission comes in. The more you look into it, the more you rub mind on it, the more it finds expressions in you, and the more you become it. The more you read it, the more you get so intrigued into it, and the more you run with it. The last thing is to understand that the life you have been called to live as individual is not the ones that you need to seek permission for. You don't need to seek permission from anyone. You need to just live that particular life. And if I'll leave you with one word this evening, what's this slide? Keep. And if I'll leave you with one word this evening, everyone, can I stop sharing my screen? Yeah. If I'll leave you with one word this evening, it is that God has not called you and you are not here as an accident. Irrespective of what you are being told, you've not seen your parent or you don't know who gave birth to you, or so whatever your background is, let it not determine what is going to happen to you tomorrow. Because before you were formed, God has a name for you. He has called you. He has given you a name. He knows you by your nomenclature. Don't forget that. And I hope this helps you. Thank you so much. And have a good evening. Thank you so much, the host. Thank you, everyone, for having me.